What came first, the Locust or the humans? Did they evolve alongside of humans, or were they there the whole time? Are they simply a creation, or, did they have their own evolutionary path? Anyways, the clearest example that they are somewhat related to humans is going to be the sire. By now, you guys know the drill. If this is your first time finding one of my videos, then I am putting my super expensive piece of paper, also known as a biology degree, to good use, dissecting the lore and morphology of enemies in games. Sounds like your kind of thing? Then go ahead and smash that sub button. Alright, so enough of that nonsense. Everyone all subbed up? Great, let's get cracking. A sire is basically going to be its own species at this point. It is a mutated human that has been changed to the point that its genetic coding no longer resembles anything remotely human. But its coding isn't the only thing that doesn't resemble human. Its entire morphology has been twisted and changed into something monstrous. The sire is going to be the first known example of a human mutation due to emulsion exposure. The sires were going to show up nearly a century prior to when the formers did, which is interesting as to why the sires became altered the way they were, whereas the humans turned into something totally different. It should also be noted that while the sires are actually apparently biologically related to the Locust, it seems that the Locusts are going to be more organized than the sires, who are going to be much more savage and primitive. So it's almost like in a situation where you could compare humans to, say, chimpanzees or even Australopithecus. Fact is that this is going to be a much more primitive version, but it does advance, which is interesting because if these are the ancestors, then how is it able to evolve so quickly to become something that almost wipes out humanity entirely? But I digress. The overall look of a sire is a nasty pairing of human and locust. The reason being that it is actually somewhat locust, really. Think of it as one of the first proto-locusts. The skull appears to be somewhat human, and when you kind of see the skin stretched over it, it does look like a human skull concerning teeth, eye sockets, things like that, whereas the locust skull looks much more aggressive, I would say. Its mouth will possess dagger-like teeth that, if you got too close, I'm sure it could literally bite a limb off. It has developed a hunch, as there is evidence to suggest that the spine has been pulled up after the mutagenic process was complete, during the mutagenic process. The muscles have also become much stronger as well. Your typical locust soldier has the ability to rip off an arm, a leg, so just really rip a human limb from limb, whereas your average human is not going to possess this strength under most circumstances. The sire in this category would be around, I would put it more closely resembling to the locust in strength. The cog soldiers wear osmium armor, which is very, very strong metal. The sire is able to slash at the soldiers, in some cases dismembering them, but it also just has blunt force trauma from its hand that it can use, which will still cause damage to a soldier clad in osmium. From my previous tangent about the sires being related to the locusts, the sires are referred to by the locust as incubators or forefathers. Many were found at the New Hope Research Facility, which prior to the Locust War was run by the Department of Health under orders of Chairman Monroe. The facility itself is referred to as a type of POW camp when Dom and Marcus first get a glimpse into the camp-like facility. In an effort to keep the sires contained, a security measure was left behind to run the turrets in the event that some of the sires were able to attempt an escape, or anyone really attempted entry. The reason I say attempt an escape is that they were actually kept in cryo tanks. These tanks were apparently supposed to create a safe haven for the sires because they were supposedly humanity's genetic bridge to the locusts, and we were supposed to use the genetics learned from the sires to be able to coexist with the emulsion. As with other religious icons of the Locust, they appear to acknowledge the sires as their ancestors. They also appear to revere them in this aspect. Sire holy figures are made into sculptures in the Locust cities. The actual title, if you can call it that, of the sires is going to be the Holy Incubators, which evolved from the Riftworms. And as we all know, there is an entire religion founded on the Riftworms, and the video on Scourge that I did kind of explains, in fact I'll put it up on the screen now, kind of explains about why he was picked for that position, how he got that position after Rom died, and really kind of what his duties were as leader of the Cantus priests, essentially. But you see what this actually is though, right? There is some discrepancy in the Gears of War universe that while there is some evidence to suggest that humans created the Locust race, there are other logs that, collectibles and say that state that the Locusts have always been on Sera. So let's dive into my theory on it, shall we? The sires are the first evidence of a mutagenic process taking hold in humans caused by the emulsion. And if you don't know, I'm actually planning on making a video on the emulsion because the emulsion is living. It's not just a fuel. Sometime later, the children of those affected by the emulsion were studied in an effort to gain information on how they changed. Based on that, it is clear that they are, not going to be sterile and are capable of having children, as they did have the children to get studied. So since the Locusts are the descendants of the sires, and the sires are the descendants of mutated humans, then that means Locusts are humans. So technically, sires are going to be the genetic bridge between these two species. Personally, I knew a very marginal amount of about the sires, but never to this extent. So it would seem that the Locusts are only really a couple hundred years old, if that. They could be even younger. So if anything, the race has not been here for the whole time that humans have been here. This information is gathered by studying the sires and then their births later to become the Locusts. So did you guys know this? Because before I had, did the research on this, I had no clue. That's why I love making these videos, because I'm constantly learning something new, even after a decade of playing these games. But that about does it for me, guys. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and if you did, hit that sub button as well, and also the bell so that you know every time I upload. I've started to do a lot of streams lately on the weekends, so if you guys are into streaming or you just want to hear me talk about absolutely nothing, I love engaging with people in the comments during the stream. Right now there's about 5 people that are always, talking to me, and I think we have a pretty good time. So anyways, my fellow Homo sapiens, thanks for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one.